because there's also, we talk a lot about what people want to do, but on the other side, we have the crisis response organizations who are doing things. And they are looking for volunteers. They want to use that social capital, as Kees mentioned, that knowledge that people have, these skills and capacities. I can imagine there's also a challenge for them to adapt to it, because people start doing things a lot of spontaneous now, while organizations have a more fixed mandate, process, structure that they follow. And I can see there can be friction between the two worlds. And so I think my next question actually to all of you would be, how do you see that this alignment between, the spontaneous online free-form organization and spontaneous volunteering versus the more traditional organizations work? Cindy, may I start with you again?
It doesn't work?
Yes, I can hear you. Thanks.
Yes. No, I was saying it doesn't work, I think. We did the research like 4 years ago. We did the COBA core research, and we acknowledged that there is a gap between the world of the affected and the responding community and the professionals. I think that gap is still there, and social media, it seems to increase the gap because the social media facilitates the more local, smaller initiatives. So we see more small local initiatives. So the number of initiatives organizations, professional organizations have to deal with only explodes, which makes it very hard for the professionals. And what they do is they look at the traditional organizations to give them an oversight, but those traditional organizations don't have the answers either. So I think the gap actually is increasing. And I think what we need on a crisis management side is analytic tools, which allows us to analyze the incredible amount of data of small initiatives and a way to translate that into trends and overall developments. But that's my bit negative approach, maybe.
Well, no, I think it's a challenge because there is this you're much more bound by your own processes and organizations and mandates that you've developed over the years versus people who don't have these barriers. So it happened everywhere. People in universities, and I'm sure Kees can also relate to this. Last week, when we started teaching online, suddenly we were free to pick any tools we wanted because the organization didn't enforce much. So if you're first mover advantage, you can move quickly. You have this freedom, but it is then difficult for the university to again match that up with their internal processes, and that's the struggles that's going on now. So I can see a similarity here, and probably for a lot of organizations where this initial phase and then this alignment. Martijn, do you see these challenges as well? And do you see any technical solutions that we could take to solving to addressing that gap? Aside from a project.
Yeah. A stupid answer would be just use more technology. Just try to fix it with AI or whatever. But to be honest, myself being AI scientist back in the days, I don't think technology here is a solution. I think a smarter solution is smart thinking about what you actually need. I think crisis professionals need to acknowledge that there's no way of stopping societies to self-organize. That's just fact of life. And they will never be able to neatly fit in social media or self-organizing events into the process. It's just not going to work. Again, I'm in the fortunate position to be able to look at both sides of the equation. And seeing the struggle that the professionals have in dealing with new types of crises, such as this one, I just don't see any option to quickly and neatly and efficiently integrate local platforms into formal crisis management processes. It's not going to work. So the best you can do is learn from each other what's happening and make sure you have the right you have people in place that can function as proxies, as liaisons, that are smart, that know both sides of the world, the professionals and the volunteers and the society at large, and make sure that there are connections, but don't don't try to over design it. It's just not going to work. So what's the role of technology there? Well, technology can help find initiatives. I've been trying to just register what's going on out there. It's really hard already at this time in the crisis. There's like a gazillion different initiatives, from large to small to focused to more generic. And that's not even scratching the surface. There's also lots of things going on offline or semi-online. You have lots of people seeing lots of things, but they're not connected. Again, there's this disconnect between communities, both digital and non-digital. So I would see a role for ICT, IT technology to help create oversight, to put them all on the same map. What you do with that map is a different sort of question. I think what I hear from the professional side at the moment is their first concern is to understand what's going on out there, both from the virus impact point of view, but also from the reactions from society. They need situation awareness. They need a common operational picture, if you want. Mm-hmm. Anything that can help to create that awareness is already very useful. Yeah. To go beyond that, say to try at this moment in the crisis, try to fit citizens into your processes, I don't think it's worthwhile the effort, to be honest.
I like the point you mentioned, Martijn, because that actually touches on a point that we've seen in a lot. Like a key element that traditionally is part of crisis response is indeed situational awareness, and specifically in this case, what the UN calls 3 Ws: who's doing what, where, because you don't even have to direct these initiatives in the first place. If the very least you would know what is happening, that would already form the basis for establishing collaboration and these things. What is your take on that case? You've done a lot of studies on situational awareness. Can we create situational awareness for these kind of initiatives?
Oh yeah, good question. So again, I guess I'm on the same page as Cindy and Martijn. So there is no technological fix for a social issue. So I definitely agree. Situation awareness is a really interesting way of looking at the situation right now from a professional point of view. Like maybe I've been talking to crisis responders lately over Skype or Zoom. And for at the one hand, they see those initiatives as a sort of an indicator of societal resilience. So the measurements that are being taken are quite tough. So they are eager to see, how do those measurements land in society, and how does the society respond? So that's one thing. About situation awareness, it can indeed be a source of information and data of what is going on out there, because also the crisis responders are, well, maybe not completely locked in their control rooms, but still they are struggling to make sense of the situation. So what is going on? And situation awareness is relies upon trustworthy data. So what I notice is that indeed for professional responders, the data provided by citizens can be a really interesting and valuable source of information. What they always are looking for is how to validate that information, how can it be linked to other kind of information or information sources for that matter that they have at their availability. Looking for ways to make sense of the data, prevent data of information overload, and all these things, they really apply at this time as in this kind of crisis as well. So I'm with Martijn. So and for them, social media is at the one hand a tool for communication and see what is going on in society, but also they have their own platforms that work sort of like social media platforms, in which the professional responders share their information across jurisdictions or professional organizations. And what I know, in the Netherlands at least, also elsewhere in Europe, is that the crisis responders have been investing in those platforms a lot in the last years, and you can really see the positive influence of that. So trust relations have been built, routines. Although it is a new kind of crisis, I'm with Martijn. You can also see that first responders can now fall back on their training and their professional routines.
So how does that? Sorry, small personal interest sides up here. How does that? What people are organizing themselves in these internal systems? That would seem that in these internal systems, actually, those people who are maybe organizing community don't have access to those systems. They don't, they might not need full access to everything to input everything, but that information might help them to coordinate. Like the core principles of the UN says, information coordination through information. If we can at least let people know what is going on and they want to start doing things, here is some key information. Now these systems seem, and these groups seem to be quite disconnected. And maybe, like Martijn said, the solution is not a technical one, but rather a proxy or in between.
Well, what you see now is that Martijn already mentioned the liaisons. For example, an organization like the Red Cross is connected to those platforms. I mean, the professional platforms where they share information, and they are the mediating organization between professional responders or even professional volunteers and spontaneous volunteers, for example, through their own platform Ready to Help, where you can become member as a spontaneous volunteer, so to say. So you will see many mediating organizations or liaisons. But it is true that those professional platforms, they are sometimes quasi-closed. They don't allow you and me as spectators. And when I am in the field working with first responders, I'm but I was part of tabletop exercises many times, or physical exercises even. And I always was asking them, where are the citizens in this exercise? So I think one of the lessons learned might be after this crisis, okay, maybe we should involve ordinary people like you and me, and also volunteering on spontaneous volunteering organizations to our exercises. But that is.
Yeah, I can imagine there are some technical data privacy and security challenges, but the principle, if we say that information is so critical for people to act, to organize, to get involved in an efficient way, then we should think about ways of making that connection happen, whether it's in the system in the long term or these liaisons at the short term.
Exactly.
If